We are transitioning to our session on the science of agentic scaling with Mark Roberge and Manny and
Mark
Mark,
Roberge.
two
Whoa,
founders, two
legend,
Come
CEOs.
on, Mandy. What's up, man? How are
legend.
you?
Good
Dude,
To
I'm
see
bringing
you.
the HBS students out in January, so maybe I can train you. We can go
This
out your way.
professorship, this professorship
Dude,
is
these kids actually want
looking
to
good
learn
on
how to
you.
sell now. Hey, Mark, how are you? Good seeing you,
Hey, good
man.
to see you
I
again,
think the
Mark.
last time I was with you was we were in like Paris or something. I don't remember where
Yeah,
we
that's
did that
right. We were
Of
speech,
at
course
but
you
Paris at
were.
Speakers Land.
Of course you were.
Yeah,
it
I look,
was
I
a
look, I
speech,
look
man. It
forward
wasn't
to,
fun. It was in and out.
I look forward to seeing you again. Maybe at
Yeah.
SaaS Talk in Ireland in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man.
Cheers.
See you guys.
See you guys.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, Mark
Thanks,
Roberge.
Julia. You always put a great one on, and loved the questions to prep. It's you're always on the edge, so I'm excited to chat.
Always my pleasure. And I don't know, to everyone who doesn't know you, if there's anyone watching who
Come on.
doesn't. But yeah, Mark is the founding CRO, HubSpot, co-founder at Stage 2 Capital, and a professor at the Harvard Business School. Super excited to dive into our fireside chat, the science of agentic scaling. And yeah, prepared, I think, questions. I guess it's going to be enough for 5 fireside chats or
I
the
don't know.
whole
I
days
don't think we're
here.
gonna get through the first one. There's a lot in there. We're definitely will get, but there's some good ones.
Let's do it. So the first one, first of all, I can't wait when you will release the book, The Science of Scaling. But if you were to write it all over again, what chapter would you add for founders or builders in the agentic era?
Yeah, it's so I think that was related to the first book 10 years ago, the sales acceleration formula. Uh the I did think a lot about the science of scaling principles, which have been born out of the last 10 years of research and working with companies on scale. And many of the I think almost all of the attributes, and we'll dig into it, apply as we go into a very aggressive agentic era. But I did have to create an appendix to like explain how it might work. So the first framing, Julia, is I think it's really difficult to predict the timing and extent of abstraction from today's point of work. So let me just explain that. I use like a building a toy example. You're a company, you build toys. I think the first abstraction would be like you use AI to support you through the stages of building a toy, product research, customer research, manufacturing planning, et cetera, et cetera. The second abstraction would be like just build the toy. Like just go and just figure out how to build the toy. And the third abstraction might be like, well, what's the point of a toy? The toy is to like create enjoyment for children and create a profit as a company. So like create a way to create enjoyment for children. So you get the point. Like it's just it's really difficult to figure out the timing of all those things and how far we actually go. And so when I think about that on the go-to-market side, I'll propose like 4 levels of abstraction. I think the first one we're actually going through right now, which is to basically a human seller still sells to a human buyer, but all the other stuff goes away. So I think the average selling time right now, the average amount of time that a salesperson spends in front of a customer is around 25% across all companies, huge volatility. That can go to like 90%. And so that would be the first phase is they do all like the support mechanism. Phase two is the seller is actually an agent. Phase three is the buyer's an agent. And I know you had Carolu on and she's kind of studying that very closely. And then phase three is like the concept of selling gets integrated in all the other functions of like product development. And now like functional specialization goes away and it's all like, yeah. And so within that abstract, does that make sense, Julia? Like
Absolutely, yeah.
what I'm talking? Okay, cool. So I'll just talk about like the first one that I think we haven't. I think 2025 was sort of the year of like breakouts in product development with AI. So it's huge up leveling in terms of efficiency. I don't think we've seen it go to market yet. I can't wait till we have like the first rep that like says in 2024 I did 1 million in revenue and this year I'm going to do 10 million. Have you seen that yet? Because of AI, not because they closed some huge deal. Have you seen that? I haven't seen that yet.
There are a lot of claims of three type of team. I don't know, founders hitting 30 million ARR.
Oh yeah,
Thoughts
that's
on
out
this?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't I I haven't seen anything that gets me excited yet on that. They're doing it, absolutely. But I wish when I double clicked into those stories, I saw that like they were just like the humans were 10x more productive, that the customers had a lot of like production, mission critical implementations of the AI, that churn was good, strong. It's just like for the most part, they're not sales driven, they're PLG driven, which is great. But I feel like a lot of the adoption is in experiments, innovation labs. They're not like mission critical yet. Churn's kind of high in some of them. The usage isn't exceptional. And I think the other big concern I have in there is the flywheel that's occurring within the hype cycle. Like I think some of these have a lot of their install base and revenue comes from other AI native companies, and that's really concerning to me because that's what happened in the dot-com era is like you were doing well, but a lot of your revenue came from other internet startups, and when it burst, like everything fell apart. And then everybody can remember 2022 when so much of the tech bubble happened and a lot of the customer base with other tech companies that were growing like crazy, and when that fell apart, everything fell apart. So I just the jury's out on whether we're in a hype cycle or not in AI. I have a lot of conviction we are. And those are some of the things I like tend to look at and get concerned about. I think we will have like the $100 million business with three employees, but I don't think the today's implementation is so much that. But just to finish your question, Julie, on like predictions on go to market, because I do think like in the next year we will see a massive shift in it. I'll summarize it as our selling time will go from 25% to like 80%, our customer facing time. And I think like you can break down each element of the customer journey and the support process needed in sales. So let's just talk with ICP identification, right? Like right now we like look at various segments. If you do it right, you calculate your ICP based on customer success creation and retention. You make sure that you can have like strong go-to-market CAC around it as well. And there's just a lot of work. We probably refresh it every quarter. And like that's something that can be completely automated and done in real time. Like every day you could be like, oh, guess what? There's like 20 new companies that are in our ICP now because our ICP is expanded. And then that bleeds into like account identification. Like most companies to this day, that's a huge decision. Like you have sales capacity to call 70 new accounts this month. And that decision is being put in a 22-year-old SDR. That's like, I mean, a lot of guidance is great, but that's an easy thing for AI to like, now that we know our ICP, we can identify like here's 70, if you have time to go after 70 new accounts, this is like the perfectly statistically optimized 70 accounts you should go after. And then the third one is like going after them. Who are the different members of the decision-making unit? What is the optimal outreach to them? Like we're starting to see that come to play, and like we'll see like how much of that's delivered through SDRs or not. Whatever, we'll get there. And then I think that we'll have a huge enablement era too. Like we're already seeing there's an awesome company called Letter AI that's like working on this right now, where you're a rep and you have a meeting tomorrow. You've just booked your first meeting with like the director of marketing at Genzyme. And it basically has already been pre-trained on your whole product, your battle cards, your sales methodology. It looks at, Mary from Genzyme and reads everything about Genzyme and reads everything about Mary's background and basically says, this is the perfect first meeting in terms of like discovery call questions, etc. It spins up a buyer agent of Mary that you can practice with the night before, so you don't have to wait for your trainer or your manager to do that. You can just do it. It coaches you on it. And then it comes to the meeting with you, whether it's like a Slack bot on the side or it's actually there with you. And as information's disclosed, it adopts our knowledge and proposes like stories or questions to ask. And then after the meeting, obviously, it automatically fills out the CRM, updates the forecast, like decides like creates a deal room and like whatever the next step should be, and also updates my skill scorecard of like, hey Mark, by the way, next time you're in like a 7-minute Uber ride, like this is the video you should take because you're still only scoring a 3.7 on 10 on sense of urgency development. Like that's all like happening now, right? So, and then that bleeds into the forecast model where it's like, I mean, that's just you shouldn't have it's just the transcripts of discussions with customers and that generates the forecast. And like if you look at like Momentum AI as an example, they're doing great stuff with this. So those would be the elements that I think are going to happen in the next 12 months, and they are happening. People are exploiting them today. Is agent, whether this is a single agent or different agents, like ICP for identification, new target account creation, individual, decision making unit identification and demand gen, preparing and supporting through the meeting, updating the CRM and the forecast, and skills update. And I forgot the last one, which was hiring, because hiring is just such another. If you're good every quarter, you go back to the hires you made 6 or 9 months ago. Are they doing well and are they not? And did we catch it or did we not? And did we update the scorecard? That's a perfect learning model that can be done with AI. So those are the things that are happening, I think, in the next year. And if Carolu's right and next summer we have buyer agents, that'll be cool. I love Carolu. I think she's one of the most brilliant thought leaders in marketing. I'll bet against that. I'll do $100. That were guys. I just think like it always takes longer. Like especially San Francisco. Like they always think it's coming faster. It's great. I mean, there's the best thought leadership in the world. But I just think like it's gonna come, but I think it'll come a little slower.
Mark, building on this, so you mentioned coaching and coaching agents, be it. There are a lot of founders that are innovating in this space, but what are your thoughts on the adoption? And how do you actually, I don't know, enforce it? Do you see any changes in leading indicators, lagging indicators when it comes to retention and the adoption of those agents?
So coaching reps?
Yeah.
Coaching salesmen? Yeah, it's coming. I think we had a couple like early movers that the product didn't work great. And that's another like concern I have in like right now hype cycle is it's just like absolutely rigorously researched, statistically proven that we as an investor and entrepreneur community overemphasize first mover advantage. It's just like there's millions of studies and like pick your study. Roughly speaking, the first mover wins 12% of the time and the fast follower wins 88% of the time. And so like, and it makes sense. Like the first mover has to like deal with the primitive tech and waste all this money on product development and evangelize the category and get the pricing wrong and like all that shit. And all the fast follower needs to do is like once they've named the category and built the product, they just have to re-engineer it, underprice it, and benefit from all that with the best. It's just like there's a long reason why that's the case. And I think we're just working our way through like the first movers on the coaching products that just they flopped. But we're getting there. And I think with any, if I were driving that internally as a CRO, just don't try to do it with everyone. You always have to start with the early adopters, who are probably going to be your newer hires. They're probably going to be the people that are earlier in their career. They're like their appetite for learning is massive, and just focus on them. Just like pick 2, 3, 4 of them, focus on them. And then as they start to dramatically improve, you can get more aggressive around forcing it through the laggards.
So in both of your books, you presented almost like a qualification matrix, and there's a lot of on hiring, just generally salespeople and customers, and there's a lot of emphasis on people. And I get it. You're saying that we're not into like, I don't know, we're not going to transition into buying bots by 2026, midsummer, whatever. But since this transition is going to happen, how do you see agents in this equation? Are we moving towards agent market fit? I don't know, product agent fit?
Yeah, it's a great question. So just to like back up and form the foundation for the audience, like the premise of my most recent work is called The Science of Scaling, which over the last 10, 15 years, I've been I run a VC firm. We've made probably 100 investments. Before that, I spent a day a week with like 20 different companies to like really dig into their go-to-market motion, and had an opportunity to pattern recognize on failure versus success. And I just found a lot of unnecessary failure by a lack of rigor around deciding when to scale revenue and how fast. I just think it's a lot of like this, it's like we just raised a round, scale fast, hire 20 reps next month and see what happens. Like it's triple, triple, double, double, because that's what Snowflake did. I don't know, just like it's a pretty important decision and there's no rigor. So that's really the concept of the science scaling is it allows founders and board members to use the internal data of the company to decide and calculate when they should scale revenue and calculate how fast they're capable. And it talks about three phases of you have to first find product market fit, which, of course, but like, hey, ask 100 entrepreneurs what product market fit is, you get 100 different answers. And half of them around a revenue target, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. That just means you can sell. So I just think the premise of product market fit is in our industry, Julia, is about retention and the lead indicator of retention as indicated by creating customer success. So it talks a lot about that. And once you have that, you go to market fit, which means, okay, cool. You're going to sign up 10 customers this month. You've just proven that all of them are going to be successful. You haven't proven that you can build a business, i.e., acquire those customers at a low enough CAC to make the LTV formula work. So that's go to market fit. And that's when like building playbooks, hiring reps, like figure out your pricing model, figure out your comp plan, figure out your quota, that all comes into play. That shouldn't be discussed during product market fit. And then once you get that right, then you go into growth and moat, which you start adding whatever, 2 reps a month, 2 reps a quarter, and there's a whole nother set of sequences that come out. So what you're talking about, Julia, is every element of the go-to-market system design changes as you navigate those stages. Your pricing model, your demand gen strategy, the people you hire. And you're talking about the people. Like, so historically, the best salesperson at salesforce.com right now would be a terrible first hire for a startup. It's just like, I mean, the sales learning curve talks about this. So like, I forget the coin operated rep. It's like that rep is awesome because they came to Salesforce, went through a month of training, learned all the battle cards, learned the sales process, have a manager supporting them. You don't have any of that. You don't even have product market fit. So like the first rep hire has to be like a PM plus an account executive. Like be able to go out and talk to 20 customers every week, whatever, and then sense make and summarize the findings and talk to engineers about it so you can accelerate your journey. That's just one example. Okay, so to your point, Julia, how does this change in agentic era? Well, you don't need the product management sense making aspect anymore, because the rep should just go out and talk to as many customers as possible and do the consultative selling. And the raw transcripts can be used and analyzed to figure out where the product market fit is. So that skill goes away. Okay, so that's one example of how this would change. The other thing I think that changes is scale can be more real time with less upfront cost. So today it's like, okay, cool. We find product market fit. Now let's start scaling. So let's start adding 2 reps a month. It's going to take us 60 days to find a rep. It's going to take us 4 months to ramp a rep. We're going to get it wrong 25% of the time. There's just this like massive forward-looking latency of investment. And then God forbid we wake up with 5 reps and we don't have a demand gen strategy to feed them. Like versus like this becomes a lot more real time in an agentic era. And you can be going more like day to day as opposed to quarterly planning. And it also, because of that, historically, it was better off finding product market fit first, putting all the human resources there. And if you did it, then move to go to market fit on the market you chose. Because a lot of this can be automated, those could be done in parallel. All right, so there are some nuances. And for the most part, it can be summarized as the learning cycles are significantly shorter, and some sequences that had to be sequential can be now done in parallel, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Mark, I'm curious on the stage to capital portfolio side of things. What mistakes are you seeing most common now with, the new wave of founders and building agentic companies?
They're not leaning into it as much as they should. I think they're being a little too like need for like a quick win. Like, oh, we tried it, didn't work. Well, what did you do? Oh, we like tried it for a day. You got it. Like, it's such a big opportunity for startups that it needs more commitment. And the reason why I say that is like you asked a related question is like, what are some of the biggest innovator dilemmas out there that will cause today's big company incumbents to be replaced by the native AI attackers? And I have a list of them, but the number one I have is that not how their product works, but how their organization works and how their organization can be AI first. We're starting to see that what used to take 10 engineers can now be done with one. We will in the future see, reps that used to close 1 million in revenue will close 10 million a year. We'll see finance books on the quarter be closed not in a month, but in an hour. We'll see. I mean, it's just like the list goes on. And it's going to be way easier for a ground up native AI startup to exploit those performance efficiencies faster than a 10,000 person company that has to go through the change management process. And because of that, they'll be able to pass those savings along to the customer or deliver on higher, profit margins. There's a choice there that they have to make. And that will cause massive disruption across all categories. So like this, that's the biggest opportunity. And it gets back to your first question, like, aren't we already seeing that? Aren't we seeing 3-person companies that are getting to 30 million? It's like, I just think that is like a combination of just good PLG and a little bit of like this hype flywheel, and experimentation revenue. It'll come. And there are some examples out there where it's real, but that's not the majority. And I just think that founders need to make being an AI run organization a bigger priority in order to disrupt the industry. Like in an extreme example, Julie, and this isn't a good idea, but just to exploit it, kind of can't wait for a rep just to be like, I'm just going to rebuild Slack with 3 people and sell it for 90% off.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's stupid. That's not good, but you get the point.
Mhm.
I'm trying to make an exaggerated comment.
What is defensible then, Mark?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think point of work is going to become the biggest system of action or point of work. People are saying it a different way. So like in the last, in both the on-prem and the cloud era, system of record was an extraordinarily powerful moat or barrier to entry. Create huge switching costs. If you had the data in the database and if you own like where people would put it in, then you were good. But I think that's going to get replaced by the point of work, because if you own the point of work, you own the raw data, and then you can put it wherever you want. So like in this our go to market arena, it's like it's more important to own the transcript of the conversation between the rep and the buyer than it is to own the data of the CRM, in my opinion. And that would translate to product development, to like on the finance side to own like where the contracts are signed and the invoicing occurs. That would be one example. I think the other example I'd throw out is I do think pricing is going to be a nice innovation. I think there's an economies of scale one around having the most data to train the best models. Probably the biggest one too I like in the application layer is the place that I have the most conviction on as to where today's startups will actually sustain is vertical AI outside of the tech sector. I just think like today's CTOs I think they're trying to kill the application layer. I think they're trying to like put all their data into like a single data lake and then use the LLMs or horizontal tech to like kill the functional divides between marketing, sales, finance, product, and engineering. And I think but I don't think like the CTOs of like hospitals, banks, manufacturing plants have a build mentality. I think they just care about a vendor that has proven that they can go through the compliance demands of their vertical. And so I think like that's where I'm most bullish on is vertical AI companies in non-tech sectors. And that's a little bit of like a brand moat. Like if you look at Harvey and legal, I think like when a big law firm finds out that their peer is actually using AI, I don't think they're like go do a vendor assessment and find the cheapest one. I think they're like figure out who they used and buy them. Right. So I think there's a little bit of like a brand reputation out there.
You only have 2 minutes,
No
unfortunately.
worries.
And as probably the
Am I
last
early?
question.
Sorry, am I early?
Yeah, 1 minute, Deepinder.
Hey, Deepinder.
Really nice.
Hey there.
Yeah, so the last question here is about B2B as an industry overall.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to hear your thoughts since we do have agents in the equation and we will transition at some point when they will be a
Yes.
filter for
Yeah.
buying and
Mm-hmm.
the like. So how do you see the industry transforming since
Yeah, I
it's
think it's just going to be like the trust and relationship to your point goes away, Julia. I think we're moving away from that. I think in the 80s and 90s, the best sales team won. Whoever had the golf membership and took the buyer to the golf and steak dinners, they won the account. And all the products sucked. I mean, shelfware, people hated it. It's just the best. And you were stuck with it. When we moved to the cloud, we moved a little away from that. Like you could find stuff out on your own, PLG. We still have like people buy from humans who you trust, blah blah blah. I want to make sure I can call them up and get stuff. I think that will completely go away when buyer AI agents buy from seller AI agents. They'll just make really good decisions that aren't based on relationships. They'll be experts at the needs of their business and they'll match it with the right vendor. And the seller AI agents won't lie or manipulate. They'll just be like, hey, they'll just be honest. Like, we're not the right solution. You should go buy them. And so like that will change the paradigm quite a bit. But there's, I think, a progression there. And if I could, Julia, just like, I haven't talked about the Science of Scaling book yet. I think it just went out for pre-order like last week. If you want to check it out on Amazon, you can. There's another one named the same thing from the summer by a professor in the Midwest or something. So just be careful you get the right one. I'll do more of a massive launch in Q4, but I do want to say that 100% of the proceeds go to McLean Hospital, who is the globe's leading research in mental health. So I just want to point that out as well. My last book went to a similar organization, and I think we're in the midst of another big mental health situation. So if you do end up supporting the book, you are supporting that cause as well. Just want to say that.
huge pleasure, Mark, and never enough time. And yeah, we will be sending your book actually to everybody's watching and
great.
the speakers. So yeah,
Thank
happy
you.
time with that.
All right. Thanks so much,
Awesome.
Julia.
Thanks.
Take care, everyone. Bye.